Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to all for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares with me. From the heart, gracias. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype the video. Thank you. And getting right into what I want to touch on today. Today's going to be a little bit different, right? And it goes to what we always talk about. I know most of the time it's more on an angle of Billy's doing their Tecatos ways and, the camaradas getting the bat and not the stick. But today I want to touch on, what happens when a Billy takes a liking to you and basically he protects you, right? And does that stand afterwards? But, anyways, getting into it to make sense. Today I want to talk about T from garaghty Lomas, that old man, right? For those that know about that old man, he did a lot for the organization, right? Not just in Cali, but he also went out and did his thing in Hawaii and unfortunately came back and got caught. As I mentioned in past videos, we were out there in the feds together, right? And just to touch in a little bit on his behavior out there in the feds, he was a real quiet one, real mellow. He did put out his opinion when it was needed or he felt he needed to put it out there, right? But more so, he liked getting high. He had his own little crew, just got out, program, got high, and he spoke up for the ones underneath him, right? But today, I want to touch on Wessels from Maravilla. I don't remember exactly if he was from Gage Maravilla or so we'll just leave it as Wessels from Maravilla, right? He was a youngster, unfortunately first term and he caught a Fed case, right? It was one of them funny cases though. I guess a gun case that due to its serial number or something to that effect, right? He went to the feds. Now, me knowing a little bit on the history of garaghty, Loma, and Maravilla, right? I know they don't get along, but as we always speak, once they're a member, right? They go beyond that per se. But anyways, I was already on the yard when the little homie Bones got there. When I say homie, is because that's exactly what personally always looked at Maravilla, right? Camaradas. Me being from Northern California, I understand they had their county issues, but wherever I landed, they ran with us. Of course, they protected their own, but most of the southern institutions is like that with every ranfla, right? So, anyways, he got there, and unfortunately, he got pulled in by Tony, right? As he got pulled in, he was doing well with the Pili, giving him clecha. Again, the Pili, I believe, right, is when he started crossing from Tecato to, you know, letting it take full control, right? I know at his age it might sound a little weird, but, you know, well, we'll get to that, right? Anyways, the homie, he was Carita, right? The young homie from Maravilla, he had he was able to pull hyenas, right? And he pulled a, a verde, right? And that verde was bringing in material. Now, when he started bringing in material, all of a sudden he was relevant on the yard, right? When he got there, young Vato didn't really know too much. Pilis, besides introducing themselves, they pulled away from him, right? Because again, it's to stay relevant, it's what you can bring to the table. And, you know, the older Pili, I used to call him grandpops, playing around. But anyways, the Pili from garaghty, he pulled him in, started giving him clecha. He was able to pull the hyena. He started hitting. As it happens a lot, right, with different camaradas. However, they were doing their thing. They were doing their thing, right? That's their thing. But, you know, that one dirty Pili from San Diego, Chino, he he's a straight dope fiend, right? And by this, everything had come out to yard already how he was a funny bunny, right? And more so if the homies were young, right? They didn't know what time it was. They would put up with this BS. Me personally, I would have wrecked my whole career straight up, and I know it's probably dumb after so long being in, but imagine you being in a cell with an individual, and okay, you respect the levels, right? But all of a sudden, that individual tells you, "Hey, go ahead, pull that down and squat real quick, right? Yeah, ahí te voy." Oh no, hell no, ahí te voy yo. You know what I mean? But anyways, he had Colmillo to do his dirty stuff. Period, right? He had them original habits that Emma had, and but he wanted the dope in this case, so he started pressing the little homie Bones to sell up with him, and Bones sent Chales, right? He never put out the reason, but you could guess the reason, right? The homie wasn't going to walk into something all happily, knowing what was going to occur, right? And after so long, it was one of the few times I seen the old man Tony speak up, right? And told him, nah, he's my worker, right? He's underneath me, let him be. And of course, once the homie auntie said this, he wasn't doing very much in the yard, right? And he was quiet, liked to get high. He didn't take credit for what his soldados were doing, as other pilis, right? Other pilis, their workers are doing something, and all of a sudden, hey, I got this pipeline coming in, and everything belongs to them, type of thing, right? He was happy just with whatever you show love and respect to him. At least that's what I seen, right? And anyways, well, you guys can imagine Chino being who he was, started pressing a campaign against him, but not a direct one because he didn't want to start something on the same yard with that old man, right? And but he did start getting in other Billy's ears, like Joe, yeah, Joe, Sana. I was there when he approached Frankie, Sana's right hand man, right? And he started saying he wasn't sharing the well, and he was kicking that old man from Garrity on miseria, right? Nothing. Basically throwing out he was taking advantage, right? He wasn't playing his dues as a campolero, which, you know, when it came to Joe and Sana, they they would address the old man with this, right? And he would say, Charles, everything's good. Don't allow nobody to speak for me, right? If something's wrong, I will come and tell you. So it was left like that. The thing is, as many of you know, I seen the old man from garaghty parole, right? He would end up going home, and that's when the problem came for Bones, right? Because it was everybody wanted a piece of what he was getting, and then Chino started wanting to send him on missions, right? Reckless missions, to be sincere. For example, you guys know the time frame, right? For example, you sell someone a paper, I'm gonna front you this. You got 20 days for the feria to land. I never did it like that, but majority do it like that, right? And 20 days is not there, it's double, and you got another 20 days. And if it's not there, I'm gonna collect. Well, he wasn't even allowing the time frame when he wanted to send homie to put steel in them, and one way or another, it got stopped, right? At least the times I seen, and it became a bigger issue because it went from that to pulling out a different mascara, right? And trying to hook him in again, right? To bring it to his angle per se, Chino's, right? He was about to go home, but regardless, he wanted to get high. But the little homie, he decided to start working with Crook and Big Joe. Whatever he was bringing in, he was showing respect to them by giving them a third and have them deal with the rest, right? So you could tell G.I. Joe had his hands full, period, right? So everybody knew who was sour about things. So I don't know why these are some strong peelies, right, that were there at the moment, and why would they allow Chino to do his thing? To my understanding, he does bring to the table, but nothing like a Kaya, right? If you want to compare it to Joe, Gia Joe, or even Old Man Sana, right? He's crumbs, and then still doing the shady. Well, anyways, Chino did not stop, right? He was known for being scandalous with camaradas in more than one ways, right? And I guess in a conversation, this is just a conversation they had, right? I don't know how Chino had one of his goons with him, the homie Bones, through conversation, basically promised him, hey, when I bring in, I'll make sure you get something. And, palabra is what you're measured with. If you don't have word, you don't have nothing on you, right? You ain't worth nothing, straight up. And being a señor, he knew this, right? Again, he had a lot of venom in him, straight up. And anyways, homie hit. Again, he was hitting what he was hitting, how he was doing it. But I guess he had already all promised out, which the homie's wrong for it too, right? He gave Joe his share. He let go of everything because he didn't get high. And basically, they didn't keep his word with Chino. Well, that was grounds enough for Chino to have him whacked. And no other Pili on the yard could speak up for him. Because his palabra ain't good, he ain't good. But everybody that was there knew exactly what it stand for him, right? Me personally, This is just my opinion, right? And my opinion don't mean nothing, but I'll share it with you. He wanted the young homie to sell up with him that's hitting dope and then to push up on him in them funny ways. But when the homie didn't bite and was able to zigzag around Chino, he got upset. After all, he's above us, right? But anyways, he got hit once. The homie came out, and you guys make sense of it for me. All of a sudden, a kite got dropped of the who that he was messing with and what they were doing. Not to full extent, but basically through the feds towards that angle, right? And the way it was real obvious is after that checada, Chino kept his distance from homie, which he never did. So to me, it's like throwing a rope around his neck, right? When the homie lost that angle, that was grounds to remove him because there was too much chaos. He was bringing too much chaos to the yard. For those that know, there's a lot of people who can't walk around us because if you bring chaos to the yard, you have to go. So he got removed. And it's that simple. You see, at moments, I always speak about it. You were the pili that, to a sense, is good, right? That's covering, not requesting too much of you, putting his hand around you to protect to an extent with his other brothers. But jealousy is envy that this other pili's doing something that this cat ain't doing. That's what you should ask yourself. I go in there full blast, full force. I do everything for a pili, give my life away, everything I'm supposed to as a campolero. What happens when the pili's gone? And now I'm not necessarily speaking he locks it up, right? Because they all end up doing so. When it's literally you're not in reach of him and you fall under the territory of another pili. That other pili, to him, you're a pawn. You chose a different brother than himself, and to them, that's not tolerable. I hear a lot of people say, I said it from the gate with everyone. You're not supposed to be under one pili, ever. You're supposed to be for the causa. But you see, through the surface, pilis always say this, but they don't mean it. Behind the scenes, they're always jealous at each other's throats, and they're in the homie's ears saying, You're my worker. So again, don't give up everything for a misbelief or a misled lie. There's nothing but heartaches. It's sad how the Pili from garaghty Loma ended up, right? And how they ended up speaking on him after everything. He was just on the street being that type of weight, a big dolphin, getting pushed around. And if you really said and think about it, when it comes to them individuals, there's only three angles. They get killed by the M, they lock it up and snitch, or they completely lose control and turn into a big dolphin. So again, value yourself, Stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones.
This is what we started. We always